Namaste. Welcome to the 4th edition of the Global Festival of Oneness, organized by Indica Moksha. My name is Anuradha, and I'm the host for today's session. Let us start with a prayer. Sadashiva Samarambham, Shankaracharya Madhyamam, Asmadacharya Paryantam, Vande Guru-Paramparam. We are very pleased to have with us Rammohan Subramaniam ji, who is going to talk on the subject, Why Vedanta for Human Beings? Before we get into the talk, I'd like to introduce the speaker. Sri Rammohan ji completed the Vedanta course 2011 to 2013 at Sandeepani Sadhanalaya, Mumbai. Presently, he conducts and coordinates various activities at Chinmaya International Foundation, such as Vedanta courses and evaluation of home study courses, answers, responding to queries raised by students related to Vedanta study. He also conducts webinar classes on Upanishads and Prakarana Granthas. We're very pleased to have you with us, Rammohan ji. Welcome to the program. Rammohan ji, you have about 50 minutes. The last 50 minutes, last 10 minutes, we will take up any questions from the audience.
Sounds good.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. Hari Om. Today is 8th May, a significant day for me because it happens to be Chinmaya Jayanti Day. It is the day Jagadguru was born, Swami Chinmayananda. You see the slide in front of you in English, talking about a topic that 100 years back would have been only in Sanskrit. This transformation from Sanskrit only to being made available in the English language was possible because of Swami Chinmayananda. With his blessings, I will be embarking on sharing with you all a perspective on why Vedanta is meant for human beings. Vedanta has two preconditions. Its study requires you to be at the feet of your Guru and spend time exclusively with him so that you can imbibe this supreme knowledge which is available for human beings. If you dissect this question into three parts, which is what we will be doing today. First is what is defined as human being will be taken up. In other words, we will try to discern what we mean by saying being human. The second part of our discussion will define what is Vedanta. And then we will spend a few minutes today on how the other religious and social activities will become meaningful in this pursuit of Vedanta. So when we say human beings, we are being distinguished from other beings. So we must know what is so different in other beings when we compare them with human beings. There are many species in our world, from the microscopic to the macro beings. Shastra declares that there are more than 84 lakh species in this creation. Except for human being, all other beings are strictly bound to their biological nature. A lion will not eat herbs or leaves even when confronted by severe hunger. A fish cannot think of living out of water. The birds will keep falling prey to the same hunter who snares them again and again by the same technique of spreading a net. In the Puranas, however, we see Hanumanji, Gajendra, Kakabhushandi, or Garuda, which are all exceptions to this rule. And by these few exceptions, the rule we can say is universal. We also come across through our study of scriptures that there are entities called devatas, divine beings. The term devata in Sanskrit means shining ones, meaning that they are brilliant. They are possessed of a very subtle and pervasive inner instrument, intellect and mind. Interestingly, all of them are already aware of Veda and Vedanta. They are beings who are bound by the previous birth's very strong kartrutva abhimana, meaning doership or an agency impression that is carried in their intellect. Though they have given up enjoyership through intense sadhana, such as yajna, etc., they can only create effects for others, but cannot enjoy their effects. Agni Devata cannot experience its own heat.
Sorry for the interruption. Did you stop your presentation or?
Yes, I have stopped.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Carry on.
So Agni Devata cannot experience its own heat. Surya Devata cannot experience its own shine. So while they cause the effects on other beings, they themselves cannot feel the effect that they create. Immediately our question will be, if Devatas already know Veda and Vedanta, why do we say that Vedanta is not needed by Devatas? The Devatas are bound by Kartrutva Bhava even in this particular Kalpa. They selflessly serve the cause of Ishvara and help creation to sustain itself and dissolve it when Ishvara wills it so. Though they are aware of Brahman, we have an example of it in Kathopanishad when Yamadharmaraja discusses it with the young boy. But because they have not given up their ego as a karta, a doer, they are bound to this servitude of serving Ishvara's will till the end of this kalpa, after which they will get liberated. Then in our life or experience, we come across non-sentient inert objects. The question that we have to ask for ourselves, are these objects really inert? The non-sentient objects, according to our philosophy, are actually beings whose inner instrument has become dull, so much so that they can only know they exist, but cannot announce their existence through an expression to the world around us. Unless somebody who is sentient perceives them, their existence itself is not known. I cannot expect a rock to announce from a distance that it is existing to me. They are all subject to experiences caused by nature or other sentient beings, which they have to suffer in silence. Once they have exhausted this unconditional experiencing for a long, long period of time, they may be recycled for higher forms of life expressions like animals, birds, etc. This brings us to human beings. There are two terms when we discuss about human beings. One is character, and then another is characteristics. All human beings have what is known as an inner character and an outer expression of this character, which is called characteristics. When you want to say, I would like to know what is the character of a human being, we use terms such as noble, wicked, etc. But this nobility or wickedness is recognized in the outside only as characteristics, which manifest as actions, thoughts, verbs, words, etc. And people come to a conclusion about one's character only by the characteristics which are expressed. If I don't express my characteristics, nobody will know me. For example, constant drinking is a characteristic, whereas alcoholic is the character. It's just an example to differentiate these two things. Character is divided in our Shastra into Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. And from that into various characteristics which are given out in Bhagavad Gita as Asurik and Daivik Sampati, which we already know. Higher the Sattva in us as a character, more divine or more noble are our expressions. Rajas and Tamas will make us more selfish in our expressions or even adharmic in our expressions. Having briefly discussed about the characteristics of human beings at a broad way, in a broad manner, we will now turn to the term Vedanta. How many of us have used a device called microwave oven? Typically, this microwave oven comes with two books. One is called user manual. Another is called a recipe book. At least the modern microwave ovens come with these two. The user manual declares that these are all the means by which this oven is maintained and used, so that it serves its purpose, and it also defines how do we use this device to get its results. It says if you switch it on, press this button, power will come, set it at this reading, it will heat for 20 minutes and food will be cooked, etc., etc. In the second book, which is called a recipe book, it will discuss those various enhanced outcomes that are possible only from a microwave oven and not from other devices, or at least not as good from the other devices. And then it instructs that these preparatory steps are to be followed and the oven is to be operated as per the instruction given in that recipe. Human beings are also created with an instruction manual containing 2 sections called Vedas. The Vedas Karmakanda portion or section is like the user manual of a microwave, which says these are all the means by which the body, mind, and intellect of the human being can be sustained, preserved, and used so that it serves its purpose of getting enhanced results, which are possible by this device which is called human being. The Vedas Upanishadic portion, which is called also inquiry portion, Jnana Kanda, etc., which is similar to a recipe book of a microwave oven, comes out with one single enhanced outcome that is possible from this intellect of ours. When we take up certain specific preparatory steps and the mind is merged into the final goal of becoming one with that infinite awareness, that is listed in the Vedanta portion. In front of you, you will find a picture depicting Vedas at the top, containing 2 sections, Karmakanda and Vedanta. Karmakanda defines the dharma, the means of preserving, maintaining, and gaining the highest possible effect through our BMI, which is called Pravritti Dharma. The Vedanta, which deals with moksha or liberation, is known as Nivritti Dharma. The Pravritti Dharma addresses 3 purusharthas, 3 goals of a human being, which is artha, earning wealth and money, kama, fulfilling desires, and dharma, if it is at the bottom of the list, becomes actually adharma. If our focus is money, if our focus is desire, naturally we will be leaning towards adharma. Karmakanda says readjust this cycle, readjust the sequence, and put dharma on top and allow artha and kama to become subsidiary to the instructions given in the Karmakanda. Then this human life is very well preserved and maintained. The Nivritti Dharma outlined in Vedanta portion requires you to prepare your mind and intellect and then listen to the scriptural expressions contained in the Vedanta portion, contemplate on it, and then try to abide in that which is pointed out through these Mahavakyas. And when your mind becomes quiet and you become one with that knowledge, then you are liberated even when you are embodied, says Vedanta. This is like a bird's eye view of what is Vedanta. If I were to take up the entire Vedanta as a subject, it will take the rest of the festival itself, because so much is to be covered. Why Vedanta only for human beings? I don't have to say that to you. Bhagavan Shankaracharya, in his very second verse in Viveka Chudamani, after his prayers to his Guru, straight away says, Jantunam Narajanma Durlabatah. Pumsvam Tato Viprata Tasmad Vaidika Dharma Marga Parata Vidvatvam Tasmat Param Atmanatma Vivechanam Swanubhavo Brahmatmana Samstitihi Muktirno Shatajanma Koti Sukrutaihi Punyet Vina Labhyate. If you look at the particular construct of this single verse in Viveka Chudamani, he says, among the living creatures, to get a human birth is very rare. And the rest of the verse uses what we call as verbs which signify activity of the human being. Difficult it is to attain full manhood, even rarer to cultivate a sattvic nature, remaining steadfast in Vedic path is rarer, gaining correct knowledge from scriptures is difficult, discriminating the real from unreal, forget it. Getting a direct personal experience of becoming one with that infinite truth is impossible. Indeed, if after that one needs to be liberated, he says you must have done a lot of punya to gain such characteristics. But the important point is that human birth is got, meaning you get it from Bhagavan. All other things are Purusha Prayatanam. You can attain, after you have gained the human birth, you can get it. So the foundation Bhagavan Shankaracharya lays down is that getting human birth is rare, and on that foundational base of human birth, other things are difficult to be achieved, but yet they can be. If you did not have human birth, then all the others will crumble down out of the 9 blessings, he calls it. Now, Bhagavan Shankaracharya did not conceive of this importance of having human birth for his liberation on his own whim and fancy. He would not do that. He would not say humans are great by himself. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th Skanda, which typically deals with the moksha subject, in the chapter 7, Bhagavan Sri Krishna explains to Uddhava and gives out what is known as Avaduta Gita, and in that he says why humans are best eligible for Vedanta and Moksha. The mantras 19 to 23 in that chapter reads as follows. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Prayena Manuja Loke Loka Tattva Vivekshanaha Samudharanti Hyatmanam Atmana Eva Ashubha Shayat Atmano Guru-Ratmaiva Purushasya Visheshataha Yat Pratyakshanumanabhyam Shreyo Asavanu Vindate Purushatve cha mam dhiraha Sankhya Yoga Visharadaha Avistaram Prapashyanti Sarva Shatyutpa Brumhitam Eka, Dvi, Tri, Chatushpada, Bahupadas Tatha Apadaha, Bahavayah Santi Puraha Shrishta, Tasam Me Paurishi Priyaha. Tasam Me Paurishi Priya. Amongst them, one who is born as a human being is closest to me. Atramam Margayan Yadha Yukta Hetubir Ishwaram Guhyamane Gune Lingaihi Agrahyam Anumanataha. That which cannot be grasped by our sense organs, like the objects, people, and experiences, which we can, that supreme truth, you can gain it if you have a human form, and such humans are my beloved creation, elements of creation. That's how Bhagavan says. Loka tattva vishakshanaha samudharanti hyatmanam atmana eva ashubha shayat was the 19th verse. This means Loka tattvam vikshakshanaha means capable of inquiring, vikshakshana, inquiring, and then expertly analyzing and learning the various visible truths of this phenomenal world. And then samudharanti, meaning they gain worldly achievements. So the reference here is artha, kama, and dharma, purushartha of human endeavor. And by this, where we said dharma becomes an important aspect, artha and kama as subsidiary, human endeavor can uplift humans by this effort, atmana eva ashubha shayat. In all these spheres, using the resources given by Bhagavan, they can raise themselves to become Shubha. Shubha means to become good, great. Our intellect taps into what is given to us by Bhagavan. And actually animals too can do this to some extent. But because their intellect is gross, it limits itself to just minimum improvisation within the realm of worldliness. Swami Chinmayananda calls this capability of human being as being a man, meaning one who has the ability in him to excel as a human being. Again, taking the same verse, Loka tattva vikshakshanaha samudharanti hyatmanam atmana eva ashubha shayat has an alternative meaning. Humans have an ability to approach the higher Vedantic knowledge in Nivritti Marga, appreciate it, absorb it, and thus become liberated. Humans can make their intellect subtle so as to analyze the world, analyze their own life form, and analyze the experiences that they are going through. And then through this, they come to a common denominator, which is the essence of all of this, Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. And by this, they are able to raise themselves from the limited or trivial understanding to achieve that glory of being a human being, who is the essence of everything, including himself and the world and the entire creation. The term Ashubha Shayat indicates the pursuit of Artha, Kama, and Dharma, which are all Ashubha, are to be given up so that moksha will become our priority. Through this one single verse in Bhagavatam, Bhagavan says there are two paths available to you. One is Shreyas, another is Preyas. One is good and one is pleasant. The path of pleasantness is containing your artha, kama, and dharma. And the path of good is only moksha marga. And Swami Chinmayananda, Pujya Gurudev, calls them as God-man, such human beings. If you look at the term Purushasya Visheshataha, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says there is a speciality in human being. What is so special about human beings? They have more than one means of knowledge. See, typically all beings have instruments of knowledge, eyes, ears, etc. Depending upon the characteristic, they are honed in a particular way, better, lower, higher, low, etc. It does not matter, but all of them uniformly have instruments of knowledge. We call them as indriyas. But it is only in human beings they can add to the knowledge that these indriyas are bringing to us by other means of knowledge. So pratyaksha pramana comes from indriyas, and then they can say anumana, inference, upamana, example, anupalabdhi, infer by absence, or arthapati, postulating something more than what is visible. And finally, they can also exchange information using shabda pramana. Inference is to draw conclusions from what we see directly and arrive at the knowledge of the unseen. That is possible in a human being. The ability to gather, preserve, and extrapolate and apply knowledge is a speciality of human beings. Shreyo asau anuvindate. Human beings can prosper more and more by making their lives comfortable, beneficial. Shreya in this context means worldly well-being. I can be happy making an environment for me which is good and conducive for my well-being. What does it mean? I pursue artha, kama, and dharma so that I'm always happy or as much happy as possible. Shreyo asau anuvintate purushatve can also apply to the realm of spirituality. Shastra and Acharya are provided by Bhagavan. If we want to benefit from them, we have to decide to make use of them to attain the highest Purushartha, that is moksha. Jiva can learn from their own experiences and by their own effort, and also from the scriptures which prescribe Sankhya Shastra and Yoga Shastra for attaining moksha. Dhiraha, those strong-willed ones, Vivekinaha, those who can discern the ephemeral nature of the worldly accomplishment, including dharma, punyam, etc. All forms of material wealth, artha, will get depleted. Kama, one cannot enjoy sense pleasures because the sense organ will always not function with the same vigor and force as we become older. So, humans can analyze all of this, and therefore they are endowed with a special feature of their intellect which comprehends the subtle knowledge that is provided in Vedanta about an ultimate truth. Thus, learning and spreading a higher knowledge is a feature unique to human beings. It is not there in other animals. Humans can discern that dharma, artha, kama are anitya purushartha, meaning they are not permanent. In Kathopanishad, a 9-year-old boy says, all of them, these material pleasures are wonderful, but keep them with you, O Dharmaraja. Tavaeva vahaha tava nritya gite. Nritya gite means song and dance. He says, keep all this song and dance with you. At 9 years old, that shows human beings are born with that intellect capability. We don't have to wait till old age to gain it. Humans are capable of reaching the core essence of oneself, which Vedanta declares as that eternal truth which is all pervading. Nityaha Sarvagataha Sthanuhu, which is unchanging, all-pervading, and eternal. Sankhya Yoga Visharadaha, Bhagavan uses that term. See, when we want to know that I am Brahman, I am the infinite being at my core, that knowing is one part of the equation. But if I have to shift my identity from a jiva who is pursuing artha, kama, and dharma, and believing them to be absolutely important in my life, to shift to this core self and identifying ourselves with only this core self is another aspect. Knowing is gained by Shravana and Manana. Shifting is done in Nididhyasnam in the Vedanta sadhana. The knowing is Sankhya, shifting is Yoga. So when Sankhya Yoga Visharadaha, Bhagavan Shri Krishna is telling this. Please come to know this truth through Shravana and Manana, doubtlessly, and then shift your identity from what this limited understanding you have of yourself and become one with the absolute truth. Without yoga, I may be able to say there is an imperishable Atman in every being that is blissful, etc. But continue to cry and feel miserable in life because we are not able to identify ourselves as that Atman, which is infinite. Human beings have the capability to gain this absolute realization if they make a choice. Such human beings are the ones who are qualified to be called as Sankhya Yoga Visharadaha. Means Jnana Yoga Visharadaha through Shravana Manana and Nididhyasana Visharadaha, meaning skill or expert in these components of Vedanta. And then Bhagavan says, Ma dhiraha prapashyanti avistaram. Avistaram. What will happen to such people who become expert and identify themselves as their one core self? Mam prapashyanti. Bhagavan Krishna says, they will reach me. Not that Krishna you see today, but that Krishna which is essentially Brahma Tattva. That stable God who is within our unstable body. Ashariram sharireshu anavasteshu avastitam. The changeless God is available in this changing body and changing mind all the time. So they recognize the Lord within themselves. That is called avistaram, meaning very clearly they know that the Lord is in them. There's no doubts. Only human embodiment, we can use what is known as free will, meaning I can direct my intellect to decide how it should be wielded. Animals do have a free will, but they cannot use it as long as they have an animal body. They have to wait for their sanchita karma to fructify and give them a human body. Then that free will can be exercised. The ability to exercise that free will by controlling our intellect is possible only in a human being. So we can gain moksha, animals cannot. And Bhagavan says, Bahavayah santi purah purah. Purah means physical body. Bahavayah means varieties of physical bodies, birds, animals, plants, aquatic creatures, all type of shariras are there. And he says, Eka, Dvi, Tri, Chatushpadaha, variety of being with 1 leg, 2 legs, 3 legs, and 4 legs, he says. And then he jumps and says, Bahupadaha, centipedes, bees with 6 legs, spider with 8 legs, etc. And then he says, Tata apadaha, that means reptiles without feet also are there. Those are all shariras. There are Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya, Maitunasa, Samanya. These 4 characteristics are common for all beings. Eating, sleeping, fear, and propagating one's species are common to humans, animals, and other beings also. The only thing that makes human being is to get away from this Ahara, Nidra, Bhaya, Maitunam by moksha. Therefore, Bhagavan considers human beings as those closest to him. He says, Paurishi, the human body, me priya, is the dearest to me. Those who are embodied in human form are the ones closest to me. Why Bhagavan is so happy with human being? There is a perceivable reason. The superiority of human birth, it is because we alone are given three important faculties which are not there or not that much developed in the other beings. What are they? Jnana Shakti, Ichcha Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. Jnana Shakti is the knowing faculty by which human comes to know everything around them. They enhance this Jnana Shakti by more than one means of knowledge. Animals will use only one means of knowledge. Humans have got Ichcha Shakti, the capacity to choose the goals in one's life. Animals are bound by their biological needs. Human beings can prioritize and categorize our goals, short-term goals, long-term goals, etc. And intelligent human beings can choose moksha as the long-term goal and therefore make their human life worthwhile, meaningful, and complete. Mere choice is not enough. Humans also have the ability, which is called Kriya Shakti, to accomplish that goal, and they can do whatever is required to do that. If I have to sit in a 1 hour Vedanta session to be told by Sri Rammohan that humans are the greatest beings in the world, I can sit through it. That is my Kriya Shakti. He has the Kriya Shakti to speak for 1 hour. I have the Kriya Shakti to sit and listen. Thus, humans with Jnana, Ichcha, and Kriya Shakti, under their control, have a choice to choose the right goal, which is moksha, and accomplish it. And this is in their own control. See, Bhagavan or Guru or Shastra cannot decide for you, but they can offer their help. I have to decide, I have to implement, and I have to accomplish. Bhagavan Krishna says, Paurishi Priyaha. Paurishi means one who is acting like a human being while embodied. That is called Paurishi. One who has chosen moksha as his goal is called Paurishi. Purusha means Manushya Shariram. Paurishi is using that Manushya Shariram for exactly what it is capable of, the highest capability. Atra Mam Margayant Yadha. Nature of Bhagavan is the highest discovery in our life. He says, oh Uddhava, this is possible only in human janma because your own body's capability and the experiences that you go through in life can actually direct you towards me. In the human janma alone, Mam Adha Margayanti, intelligent human beings, seeks or searches for Bhagavan. Mam means Krishna, that is Bhagavan. Margayanti means seek, search, pursue, look for. Adha means straight away, directly. There's no going in a circuitous route. Yukta Hetubir Ishwaram. Yukta means intelligent people who choose their knowing facility in the right manner, meaning they've enjoined their intellect in the pursuit of moksha. Better to know the imperishable God rather than doing more and more of research on more and more perishable things, is what Bhagavan is trying to tell us here. So, why should I study Vedanta? Bhagavan has used words. I will give you the same terms again to point out the key meanings. Loka Tattva Vikshanaha, to make life more meaningful and purposeful, give up imaginary needs and ever-increasing wants, such as money, career, power, status, etc. Samudharanti Hyatmanam, know more about oneself, why am I born, the true purpose of my life, and cheerfully perform duties and responsibilities while searching for this absolute truth of myself. Yukta Heturbir Ishwaram, make relationships a useful tool in the pursuit of emotional and spiritual growth. Atmana eva ashubhashaya, seek happiness within instead of craving for it from the outside world through artha, kama, and other means of attaining our goals. and maintain an equanimity with regard to joy and sorrow. Don't try to assume that joy and sorrow is the most important thing in life. Knowledge is more important than these two. Sankhya Yoga Visharadaha. Learn to be contented and satisfied with what we have, the capability that is provided in us. And Avistaram Prapashyanti Sarva Shatyupa Grumhitam. Understand the difference between religion and spirituality and also how they are interconnected. The fourth point I wanted to share with you is that there are two kinds of pursuits which are body-mind centric or intellect centric, which can be classified into other religious and social activities. Yoga, which is known as Raja Yoga, which is control of body, can be used for contemplating on Brahman. And this contemplation of Brahman and actually uniting with it requires a tremendous effort and control of our body. Body upkeep and undistracted mind are prerequisite. Yoga Shastra helps us train our mind to withdraw and become tranquil. Body, our sense organs, become controlled. But yoga per se is not permanent. It's a temporary state from which we can use the Vedanta Vichara to springboard us into the realization. But it serves its purpose as a means for Vedanta. Karma Yoga, life of service, do good, think good. Why not we keep that as a goal? When enjoyership of results of karma is given up, and actions are picked up with a sense that they are what Bhagavan would like us to do, then I become an executor and not an owner of my action. Then one is following Karma Yoga. And Bhagavan says, Karmanyevadikarasya ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala hetubhir mate sangastva karmani. While this path is better than the actions being done with selfishness, this becomes means for Vedanta and not a goal by itself. Karma Yoga is not a goal, it is the means. What about Bhakti Yoga, life of Bhakti? Instead of an outward focused lifestyle like Karma Yoga, if the mind becomes involved in Bhagavan and his glory, gets immersed into such a bhava, then one is supposed to be in Bhakti Marga. When that Bhakti matures, it leads us to what is known as Ananya Bhakti, meaning there is no difference between me and Bhagavan. Bhakta and Bhagavan become one single experienced entity, which becomes the stepping stone to realization. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa is an ideal example where he started with Bhakti Yoga and ended as an Advaitin. Amongst the intellect-centric activity, Nyaya, which is logic, to control the intellect, is a philosophy which is widely practiced in the Western world. Vedanta provides logical explanations to prove the ephemeral nature of this Jagat, the world, so that we can get detached from it. Viveka becomes better. The tenets of Nyaya Shastra are borrowed in Vedanta for that purpose. Nyaya or logic has a basic flaw that it cannot define a new concept but will explain truth or falsity of a proposed concept. That is what Nyaya will do. Thus, it becomes a means for moksha, but it cannot be a goal by itself, is what is the understanding we have to get. With this brief summary of why Vedanta for human beings, I have shared with you what I wanted to share today.
Thank you so much, Rammohan ji, for that wonderful talk. We're really blessed that it is on Chinmaya ji's, Swami Chinmayananda's birthday or Janma Divanam. as it were. We have a few questions, and one of which is that why Vedanta for human beings is how do people decide who decides that they should pursue Vedanta or not? Is this a universal kind of a pursuit, or is it only for some people? How does one go about deciding it?
Now, I can answer this question taking a trivial materialistic example. The nuclear fusion technology was perfected in Germany, went to USA, where it became a weapon, and it put an end to World War, and thus made United States of America a great country. Everybody started fearing it. Then Russia came up with their own version of a nuclear bomb. Then immediately 2 superpowers were declared. Then every other country followed. And after India did its nuclear test, immediately India is recognized among the third world countries as a superpower. Vedanta is like that. It's a Shastra. Like maths, physics, and chemistry, it is a Shastra of the self. It is not a Shastra which can create a difference outside, but it is going to create a difference within. It can be pursued by anybody who wants to pursue and change an inner frame of himself. It is available for everybody. Thanks to Swami Chinmayananda, it is also available in the English language. It is being translated in many languages by Chinmaya International Foundation, work being done through the university and other activities. So that this knowledge is to be made available to everybody. The challenge that happens in pursuit of this knowledge is typically when I want a car, I do a survey, find out where I can get the best car and go buy it. Once I got it, I evaluate its characteristic and I say, I have got the best car. The I, which was devoid of the best car, has now added the best car to that I-ness. In Vedanta, the I that is going to search for this truth of oneself is going to be destroyed in that search because it has to dissolve its limitedness to become the infinite. The dissolution, if you don't understand it, you will get only an illusory feeling that you are great, which is what Trishanku and others have done. They all went in the pursuit of becoming Brahman, whereas you have to realize Brahman is the difference. That is why the students who approach a guru are evaluated and they are prescribed practices which will refine their thinking process, and that process may involve activities other than merely being declared that you are Brahman. And that journey takes time and it takes effort, and each one has to go through that process and they will achieve. So answer in short, it is not denied for anybody, but the preparatory step had to be tailor-made for each individual.
Mahesh Aswani has a question. He of course says that you had a brilliant assessment of the tenets of Vedanta. And his question is that when we fully accept the falsity of the universe, how long will it take for us to realize Brahman?
Okay. There are two ways we can understand the falsity of the universe. One is, I told you, there is a understanding logically, I am convinced the world is false. The second thing is to experience that falsity directly. It is the second part which takes a longer time. The first part is the easier part. Those who have not gained the first part will think that is the difficult part, but that is not the difficult part. The difficult part is experiencing the falsity of the universe. So while I am contained in this universe, I should feel myself as pervading this entire universe, that it doesn't exist outside of me, it is only me. Not in the me as these atoms or atomic particles which are making me, not the material construct, but the essential sustenance which is sustaining this universe is the sustenance which is creating this I-ness in me.
Subhash Yadav ji has a question. He said, you made that comment that Nyaya Darshana by itself cannot lead to moksha. And he just wants you to elaborate on this. I mean, if you can briefly do within the constraints of time, that would be helpful.
Okay. As I said, Nyaya is logic. Logic says a premise is required and logic will tell you whether the premise is true or false. In the absence of a premise, logic cannot create a premise for you. Because merely saying something is true or false cannot create something which is true, or neither can it create something and declare it as false. So a prerequisite of Nyaya is a postulation which is followed by logic. So logic is therefore, I said, is not the ultimate. It is a means, and Vedanta uses logic extensively. Yes.
Satya Prakash ji has a question. How do we reconcile human achievements like science, technology with Maya and realization of Brahman?
Yeah, good question. Thank you, Satyamurthy ji, right? Okay.
Satya Prakash.
Sorry, Satya Prakash ji, my apologies. An expression of a human being, to say that he exists, manifests as his activities. And entire science only deals with such expressions. That which is expressed is analyzed, extended, more understanding is brought, etc., etc. But it never goes to say what was the truth behind that expression. So I can have a glorious description of a person. I can say XYZ is beautiful, wonderful, has got beautiful, wide eyes, eyes like fish, etc. You see, poetic expressions are there. But all of them, if they make you recognize that it is Devi Rupam, which is manifesting as those expressions, then you're reaching a goal. Unfortunately, if you pursue only the expressions and start dissecting them and analyzing them, you'll end up with more and more words to describe, but never reach the core substance. That is the limitation of science. Science, while it goes to a point, scientists have discovered that there is a limitation in going further because they find that more words are confusing whatever was known earlier. Newton was contradicted by Einstein, and so on and so forth. And more will come up. Somebody will, refute Einstein's theories also. It will come up because more and more knowledge means more and more words and more information. But the core remains the same, that I-ness is what Vedanta searches for. And Maya is not to say that it does not exist. There is a difference between what is illusion and what is real. That is what Vedanta does.
Sorry, I was Thank you so much, Rammohan ji, for that wonderful exposition of the vision of Vedanta. Viewers, we have many such sessions coming up. Tomorrow morning, we have an inquiry into Brahman, Athato Brahma Jignasa by Vidwan P.R. Vasudevan. This is at 7 a.m. India time. So please join us and understand this wonderful knowledge. Thank you very much and good night.